Now, today's topic is the game theory. Game theory states the actual status of the in the current competitive environment. Whenever we are having the in the market, business market, there are multiple competitors and they have their own strategies regarding their how to produce the products, how to deliver the product in the market, and what are various strategies regarding the competitors they have to face in the competitive world. So, game theory, as the name states, a kind of game that has to be played between the at least two players must be there. So, let us go through the game theory. That is very interesting topic and that is very applied in the business and also in almost every field we are having the games. Game theory, we have the some concepts, we have some programming based on the previous experience, based on the previous reports and datas. It is a part of the mathematics, it is a part of the probability, and let us come on to the next topic. Definition we are having. We will study about the meaning, we will study about the various features, the strategy, these are the various terms we use in the game theory, the methods, and we are having some limitation of the game theory. It is a body of knowledge which is concerned with the study of decision making in situations where two or more rational opponents are involved under condition of competition and conflicting interest. This is applicable in every game, even though whenever we are playing a game of chess or we are playing football game, we are having our own strategy regarding the how do we play the game, how do we compete our competitors. On the other end, we are having the who will on the ground of the football, who will defend, who will come forward, who will carry on the balls. So, these all are the strategies that has to be framed before we are going into the play. Looking at the same strategy, our opponents is also having their own strategy according to you. That helps in the decision making. In the competitive market, we shall have what kind of price do we have for a kind of product that we are launching in the starting phase, or we are already in that particular market. So, we have to decide about the price, we will decide about the place also, in which segment we have to go, we have to target. So, that is decided by the game theory. So, we are having the application of game theory in various fields. We are also having the application of game theory in the agriculture, in the educational, and in each and every fields. The essential features of the game theory is we should have a competitive situation is called a game if it has the following features, like we are having a finite number of competitors. We are not dealing with the multiple competitors in the game theory. We are having only finite 2. That is the minimum number of competitors that we required for the playing of a particular game theory. We cannot play a game on a single handed. We must have at least 2. So, we are having the finite number of competitors, we are having the finite number of actions. That means, we should have a particular number of strategies regarding our price, regarding our discounts, regarding our promotions, and so on. Accordingly, we have the knowledge of the alternatives. We should also focus on the various alternatives we are having for a kind of strategy we are adopting or our competitor is adopting. Among them, we have the choice because we are having the already, we can have the multiple choice also, which kind of selections we should made for the playing of our game. Ultimate outcome or the gain, there is gain or loss. There is only two chances, we have the profit or loss, gain or we have the lose. Choice of the opponent, which opponent or the which competitors we are choosing, whether we are fighting with our strategies with the Pepsi, with the cola, or we are having our strategy with one of the competitor with the another Maruti, with the another Mahindra, whatever this we are having the choice of opponent. Accordingly, we have to play our game. That is, we have to formulate our strategies in accordingly with the type of competitors we are having. In the complete process of the game theory, we use certain terms like two-person zero-sum game. It means we are having the two players who are playing the game, and ultimate sum if we have made by the gain of the one is the loss of the another one. It is just like in tossing a coin, either we have a head or a tail. If one asks for the head, the other will be the loser one. So, we are in the similar way, we are having the two-person zero-sum game. That means it is a situation which involves two-person of players and gains made by one person equal to the loss of the another one. Means on part of the loss of the other person we are gaining, or we are losing something, that means that is gained by the another person who is the another part in the game. We also have some policies, some strategies regarding the n person game, in which there is a person is called an n person, where we have a more than number of persons are there. One more specific term we will use, that is the payoff. Payoff matrix is the matrix of one player with the another player. The loss to the one is the gain of the another one. To what extent that loss has been occurred, that is gained by the another one. That is the outcome of the game due to the adopting the different course of action by competing players in the form of gain or losses for each of the player is known as a payoff. Suppose player A and player B. A is having the strategies A1, A2 and A3, and B is having the strategies B1, B2 and B3. So, if A adopt the A2 strategies, what kind of strategy adopted by the B to compete with, to minimize the losses or to optimize or maximize the gain. So, that matrix, complete matrix is the payoff matrix, that is obtained by the two different strategies adopted by the player A as well as the B. In a game, the gain or losses result from different moves and counter moves when represented in the form of matrix are called the payoff matrix. That means, whatever the results we obtained by the opponent and the competitors A with the B, that is representation of these in the form of matrix is the payoff matrix, row and column wise. We have some criteria in finding the solution of the game theory problems. The criteria are the maximin, the minimax and the value of the game. This is the things, these three things are determined for the solution of the game: the maximin criteria, the minimax criteria and the value of the game. Maximin. Maximin describes out of the result, out of the various result that we obtain, treated as the minimum one, from the among the various minimum values, we are going to select the maximum one, that is the maximum. Now, if we have the losses, we never try to have our losses more or maximum. We always try to minimize our losses. And we never try to minimize the profits. We always try to optimize the profit, that means we want to maximize the profit. Now, when we adopt the maximin and when we adopt the minimax, that is the thing. Now, maximin, the maximizing, the player lists his minimum gains from each strategy and selects the strategy which gives the maximum out of the minimum gains. The profit making body, the person who try to maximize, what kind of things we try to maximize, the losses or the profit? Definitely we should maximize the profit, not the losses. Okay. So, we will select, we will look after the each and every results of the various strategies which provides you a kind of profit that is very minimum. Means whatever course of action you selected, the course of selected by the opponent, you are unknown to the what will be selected by the our opponent one. So, we will have our best only. So, we will try to have the at least minimum profit we obtain from various course of action that is provided by the our opponent, the competitors. So, we are just selecting the minimum profit. For the strategy A1, we have the minimum profit. For the strategy A2, the minimum profit, and the A3 we have the minimum. Now, it's our chance, now it's our choice to select the A1 course of action, A2 or A3. It's not on that part whether we are going with the B1, B2 or B3. But we have considered among the B1, B2, B3 the minimum profit, and that profit will be the maximum one, because we want to maximize our profit. So, if we want to maximize our profit, that means we will select the maximum out of the various minimas. So, whatever minimas we obtain, we will have the maximum, whether there is a maximum criteria, and that this will be applied in the case of the profit making body, the player who is on the profit side. In the similar way, the minimax, here out of the various maximas we will select the minimum one. What we are going to select? The minimum. The minimum will be selected the losses. We want to reduce our losses. So, in this case, the minimizing player, that is the lose, who is on the part of the losses, the minimizing player lists his maximum loss from strategy and select the strategy which gives him the minimum loss out of these maximum losses. Means on our part we are selecting the losses, various losses. Suppose the player B1, B2 and B3 is there, and B1 is having the losses, B2 is having some losses, and B3 is having some another losses. Whatever I am going to select, we are not confined whether the player A will select the A1 course of action, A2 course of action or A3 course of action. So, we just find out whether whatever selection will be made, our maximum losses is on selecting A1 is this one, A2 is this one and A3 is this one. Now, what we can do, our strategies, that is B1, B2 and B3. So, we can select that minimum strategy which have the maximum losses. Out of the various maximum losses, we will select the minimum one. This is what the minimax. One more thing is there, that is the solution of the game, that is the value of the game. as a zero sum two player game, one of the losses is a gain of the another one. In this, the maximum guaranteed gain to the maximizing player if both the players use their best strategies. That means the loser is adopting the minimum losses strategy, and the profit making body, the profit player is using the maximum gaining strategy. If both strategies are selected at the same time, they will give you the value of the game, and that is the solution. That means A will adopt the A3 course of action and B will adopt the B2 course of action. This is the value of the game. The saddle point. Saddle point is the equilibrium point in the theory of games. It is the smallest value in its row and largest value in its column. If we have the maximum value and the minimax value at the same point, if the maximum value and the minimax value coincide at the same point, they will give you the saddle point. Out of various maximas, the minimum one is 5, and out of various minima, the maximum one is the 5, and they are representing at the same cell in the matrix of the payoff. That is the saddle point. Now, there is the steps. Select the minimum value of each row. Generally, we have our selections in the row. We are having the profit making body, and in the column we are having the loser. So, among the various rows which represent the profit making body, what we are doing? Select the minimum value of each row and put a circle around it. In the row, whatever value is the minimum one, you make a circle, and that is all for each row. That is the row minima. Then select the maximum value of each column and put a square. In the column wise, we are just putting a square box. The value with both circle and square is the saddle point. Where we have the circle as well as we are having the square, that is called the saddle point, and that will give you the value of the game, and that is the solution. In finding the solution, of the game, we adopt two different types of strategies. A strategy, it is the predetermined rule by which each player decides his course of action from list available to him. It is a course of action taken by one of the participants in a game. We are having the two different strategies, a pure strategy and a mixed strategy. Pure strategy is completely deterministic, and mixed strategy this is based on the probability, and it is probabilistic. Now, pure strategy. It is predetermined course of action to be employed by the player. The player knew it in advance. It is usually represented by a number with which the course of action is associated. We will come to the numerical also, but this time we are having the strategy. So, in advance we are known to the kind of course of action, that is a pure strategy. Just take an example. In pure strategy, the maximizing player arrives at his optimal strategy on the basis of max-min criteria. The game is solved when maximum value equals the minimax value. Suppose for this particular problem, form X is having the two different course of action. It is a 2 by 2 2 cross 2 matrix. X1 and X2 is there, and player B form Y is having the Y1 and Y2 course of action with the values P of 0, 3 and 6 and 3. Means form X adopting the X1 strategy is gaining 0, while form Y is losing the 0. Now, for form X, if we apply the maximum criteria, for the first row, the maximum values out of the various minimas. So, first of all, we will find out the minimum values for the first row, that is a 0. Second row, it is a 3. Among the 0 and 3, from 0 and 3, for the first row, we have the selection of the maximum value, that is a 3. That is the maximin. On the column size, we also adopt the similar minimax. Out of the various losses, we are having the maximum loss of 6. Here we are having the maximum loss of 3. 3 is the, on the both the case, we are having the 3. So, 6 and 3, these are the maximum values. Out of these maximum values, we will select the minimum one, that is the minimax. That is the 6 and 3, the minimum one is the 3, and this 3 is put in a square box, and that 3 is also put in a circle. They are coinciding on the same point, x2 and y2. This cell will represent the pure strategy of the game. That means form X will adopt the x2 course of action, and form Y will adopt the y2 course of action. But sometimes, whenever we are solving the questions, it is not possible that we are having the saddle point. So, when we are having game without saddle point, means maximin is pointing to some cell and minimax is pointing to some other cell. Then we go with the mixed strategy. In mixed strategy, the player decides his course of action in accordance with some fixed probability distribution. That means, we are having the probability distribution in this case. Probabilities are associated with each course of action, and the selection is done as per these probabilities. We will have our selection according to the probability we are matrix we are available with. In mixed strategy, the opponent cannot be sure of the course of action to be taken on any particular occasion. In this, we are having our probabilistic approach. If we are having the two strategies, we are having the probability of 0.5 with each one. If we are having the 4, we are having the probability of 0.25 with each strategies. So, there is occurrence of the result depending upon the probability. As we are able to solve the problem with the pure strategy easily by adopting the two different methods, the maximin and the minimax, and we obtain the saddle point, but game become typical if we are not obtain the saddle point and we are adopting the mixed strategy. And in this case, we have various methods for solving the mixed strategy game. These are the methods. The odds method, when the matrix, the payoff matrix is 2 by 2 without the saddle point. We are not having the saddle point, but we are having the matrix of size 2 by 2. Another method, we adopt the dominance method of solving the game. In the dominance method, we try to reduce the payoff matrix to some simpler form. means we will delete some of the rows or we will delete some of the columns according to the principle of dominance that we will be going to study. We have the sub games method, we have the equal gains method, we also have the LP method, the linear programming one that you have already studied. Linear programming on the basis of the graphic solution is there. This time we are having the graphic solution, and another time we are also having the simplex, that is the tabular form when we are having the more than 2 variables. The algebraic method and the iterative methods, one by one we have to solve it out. So, by these methods we can solve our games with mixed strategies. There is odds methods that we are going to discuss in the coming classes. Likewise, we have to solve it out. I will come in detail later on. We have the dominance method. The principle of dominance states that if the strategy of a player dominates over the other strategy in all conditions, then the latter strategy is ignored. Means suppose one of the row is dominating the another row in each and every aspect, we need not to go with the third row. Why do we are going? If one of the row is completely dominating the another one, that means we can easily dominate that row or we can delete that particular row, that is stated over the dominance. We will study later on how we have to eliminate the various rows and columns accordingly. We have the LPP, the graphic method. In this method, we will draw from the payoff matrix 2 values over the scale, and we will draw the graph, and accordingly we will decide, we will come to a point that these 2 strategies be applied for the course of action for finding the solution, and other course of action will be reduced. We have the algebraic method. This is adopted when we are going with the matrix with the game of 3 by 3, more than 2 by 2. By adopting the algebraic method, we have the formulas for finding the probabilities, then we will solve the numerically. Simplex method, it is sometimes difficult to solve a game problem in this m cross n. We are having the number of rows and number of columns more than the 2 and 3, then we have to go with the simplex method. Whatever number of rows and whatever number of columns are there, we will adopt the linear programming simplex method, and we can solve the game as usual we are doing in the simplex problem. We have the iterative approximation method. When we are having, we are asking for, we are not moving towards the we are not moving towards the simplex method, and we are just trying to solve the problem of the order 3 cross 2 or higher orders, then we go with the iterative or approximation method. In this, player A chooses the superior strategy over the other and places that row below the matrix. We will just shift on by just looking at the table. We will higher row will be upper side and lower will be on the lower side. Then looking at the losses, left side and right movements, player B examines this row and chooses a column corresponding to the smallest number in that row, and likewise on respective iterative methods we will adopt the iterative method to solve the game theory. This is a method, we will discuss it later on. And finally, we come up with the limitations of the game theory. Means we will not apply our theory of games over the infinite number of strategies. We have to reduce the strategies to some finite values only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is all, no more than some, because it is more complex if we are having infinite number of strategies. There is one other limitation is the knowledge about the strategy. We are having the lesser knowledge about the strategies of the opponents. So, how do we decide which strategy they are going to adopt? This is one of the limitations. Zero outcomes, and there is risk and uncertainty in the theory of games. Whenever we are dealing with the probability, there is always uncertainties, and playing a game is a risk also, as usual. So, here also in the business or in the competitive world, we are having the risk and uncertainty in the theory of games. We are not having that we will completely successful in our course of action. Now, if we are having the finite number of competitors, means whenever we are formulating our strategy with the another competitors, we will take into account only the few, 1, 2, that is all. Certainty of payoff, and there are various rules that we have to follow in solving the theory of games, that we have to adopt it in the limitation, that is one of the limitations. So, these are the limitations of the game theory. So, that is all, and I hope the lecture is quite well and you are able to understand. Thank you.